So this is the Poco M3. As per Xiaomi, the phone sold over 2.5 lakh units in just 10 days. That's crazy. To give you a perspective, Poco F1 sold 22 lakh units in 2 years. The M3 is already 10% of that. Also, the phone comes with a Snapdragon 662, 6000 mAh battery, ad-free experience and stereo speakers, all for 11,000 rupees. So the question that has to be asked is, should you buy the Poco M3 or is the Poco M3 the best budget phone to buy considering Realme Narzo 30A or Moto G9 Power? Well, the short answer to that is yes. It's Xiaomi, of course. They always have good pricing. But there are some dark shades you need to know about the Poco M3. And on that note, this is Prateek from TechWiser.com and I use the Poco M3 for about 10 days now and here's the entire video about it. But before we get to that, we upload tech videos thrice a week, so if you want to stay wiser, make sure you subscribe to TechWiser and hit the bell icon as well. Let's go. Now, this video is going to be my 10 days experience with the Poco M3. You'll get a glimpse of how the phone might work when you buy and use it. And we'll talk about the things I like and I don't like. But before that, let's quickly get the specs out of the way. The Poco M3 is powered by Snapdragon 662, which is a year-old chipset. It is octa-core and built on the 11nm Samsung process. There are 4 high-power cores at 2 GHz and 4 low-power cores at 1.8 GHz. Our unit has 6GB RAM with 64GB internal storage. You also get a 128GB variant. I would get the 664 because this has an expandable storage. You can always put in a micro SD card. In terms of sensor, everything is there. Wi-Fi 5 GHz, Bluetooth 5.0, dual 4G, VO Wi-Fi, VoLTE and carrier aggregation. It also has an IR blaster, which is very useful. We had an old Sony TV and I used the Poco M3 to control that, even the AC. Now, if the specs look familiar, it's exactly the same as Redmi 9 Power. We'll get to the Poco Redmi similarities at the end of the video, but first let's talk about what I liked on this device. The overall build and in-hand feel of the Poco M3, it's good. This phone surely looks fancy and it looks different from your normal phone. It has a plastic back, but it's designed in a way to make it feel like leather. And it does feel like leather. There's a good grip on the phone. The back is textured. It feels good. The phone does come with a phone cover and scratch guard, but I use the phone without it these 10 days and as you can see, there are no scratches on it, which in my opinion is good. The only thing to not like about the design is this huge Poco branding, but you'll get used to it or you can just do this. Fixed. It also has a side-mounted fingerprint sensor, which is not the fastest, but good in this range. However, you need to change the fingerprint recognition method to touch so that it works when you touch the fingerprint sensor and you don't have to press it every time. Now, enough of the back. Let me quickly move to the front of the device. I'm quite happy with Poco. They have included a 1080p Full HD display. It's a 6.53-inch 1080p into 2430p. It does get Corning Gorilla Glass 3 and it's a huge display, not something that you would use one-handed. Now the display is okayish. It gets bright around 400 nits. Not the best, but I didn't have much problem using the display outdoors under direct sunlight. However, here's 2 things about the display that I personally noticed. First, in the evening when I'm on my bed about to watch some YouTube videos at the end of the day, I have a small LED bulb on top. The auto brightness gets too dim, so I always have to manually adjust the brightness. And lots of time the auto brightness sensor doesn't work or reacts quickly, so I'm always adjusting the brightness slider. Second, at times while watching a series, I just keep my device on the table because I'm tired of holding it. But from the sides, the display looks really dim and reflective. At times, I'm not even able to see what's going on the screen. So I had used Micromax in Note 1, which had a similar 1080p LCD display and that didn't have these problems. So I guess the LCD is not that good. But again, it's a budget smartphone priced at 11,000. These 2 small things can be given a pass. And back to watching series. I've started using headphones or earphones less with the Poco M3 because it has stereo speakers. And that's the third thing I liked about the device. Stereo speakers. See, Whenever I am at home, comfort my own place, I use the speakers to watch YouTube videos, movies, everything. And even in the shower, I listen to music on the phone, and speakers aren't the best stereo speakers out there, but for sure they are loud. There's also a slight difference in loudness and audio quality between the bottom and the top speaker. Hold on, let me show you. So you can see the bottom speaker is a bit loud and different, but I loved Poco for offering stereo speakers, and I think every budget phone should do that. It doesn't cost that much. And yes, no matter how much video and audio you play, the battery never dies. And that's the fourth thing I loved about the device. The battery life. The battery life just never dies. It has a 6000 mAh battery, and with MIUI killing every third, fourth app, we'll get to MIUI in a moment, but the battery, as I said, never dies. At times, I really want to charge this phone, but I still have 30 to 40% battery by the end of the day. To give you a perspective, I usually get around 6 to 7 hours of screen on time. I watch a lot of videos, 15 to 20 minutes of chess or Call of Duty every day, an hour of Spotify or Audible. And this one day, I thought of pushing the battery to the maximum, and I got 9 hours of screen on time with still 20% battery left. So it will easily last 2 days on a light usage and even 1.5 days on heavy usage. You do get a 18 watt fast charger with the device. It takes around 3 hours to charge from 0 to 100 because of the huge battery inside it. And by the way, I told you about MIUI killing apps. Well, here, let me show you a quick demo. See, I'll just open the MyGate app, and as you can see, the notification pop right up. All this time, the app was killed in the background and it can't send notification. It does this with every app, and then you go and disable it in the settings, and pretty much, not MIUI, every Android screen does this, from Oxygen OS to One UI, everyone. Please stop that. It's annoying to not have notifications from the app you use daily, and that app killing brings me to the things I don't like about the Poco M3. Brings me to the things I don't like about the Poco M3. To top the list, it has to be the camera or the cameras. So it has a main 48 megapixel main camera, a 2 megapixel macro camera, and a 2 megapixel depth camera. On the front, you get an 8 megapixel selfie camera. Straight up, the macro camera is bad. Even in good lighting conditions, the photo turn out grainy, noisy, and the contrast is too much at times. On the main 48 megapixel sensor, it never gets the white balance right. Like at times it's too yellow and at times it's too cool. If you zoom into the pictures, they are all noisy and grainy, soft. The same is with the selfie camera. The photos turn out to be soft and white balance color is way off. So I thought maybe, just maybe, the MIUI camera is bad. The sensor may be good, so let's try it out with Gcam. Gcam did fix the color, white balance, sharpness issue, as you can see side by side. So yeah, maybe you should use Gcam with the Poco M3. The MIUI camera is just bad. Talking about videos, you can do 1080p 30 fps with both the front and the rear camera. All in all, the camera is a bit disappointing and mostly due to MIUI, and that brings me to the next disappointing point. MIUI. MIUI has a lot of bugs. This phone got updated to MIUI 12 and oh my god. First of all, you use a TWS, you can see the battery charge percentage like this, cropped. If your TWS has Google Fast Pair, the pop-up never appears unless you open the Bluetooth menu. Here's one more. When you call someone and try to record the audio recording doesn't stop. You keep on tapping and after multiple taps, it somehow decides to stop. And even the regular use of the device is finicky. Whenever you switch to recent apps, there's a slight glitch or just absolute non-responsiveness. I mean, you know the bug list goes on and on, but you get it. The letdown part of the whole device is MIUI 12. Even the Snapdragon 662 isn't that bad, but MIUI throttles it. I have the Micromax in Note 1 with MediaTek G85, and in this render test, Micromax beats the Poco M3 by miles, which shouldn't be the case. The 662 is not a bad chip, and even the phone performs good while gaming and day-to-day tasks, but seems held back because of MIUI 12. And of course, When the phone launched, Xiaomi promised that there would be no ads with Poco M3. As of now, there aren't any, and that's the third disappointing point with the device. Poco M3 is supposed to not have ads, but it has recommendations. Now you ask, what's an ad and what's a recommendation? Well, on a philosophical level, recommendation is something where you aren't getting paid for it. Ad is something where you get paid for it. But let's leave money and value outside in this example. Recommendations to me shouldn't be personalized. And while setting up the phone, this is what I noticed. Personalized ads. Wow. Now, what has changed with this Poco M3 phone? You don't see an ad while installing an app or in the file manager or the weather app or just regular MIUI apps. But when you go and type something on the Poco launcher or even just randomly click on search, whoops, there you go. Now, you can disable it from the settings, but shouldn't have been there in the first place. And this is such a good phone. The only letdown part is MIUI, and that brings me to why Poco F1 was so popular and what made the Poco brand. It was definitely the best budget flagship killer and spec'd out device you can get. But it had a Poco UI, which was not MIUI. Cleaner, stocker, less annoying ads, etc. And that led to the whole Poco brand. And now if you see, these are the Poco phones launched. There's a big table. So from this list, apart from Poco F1 and Poco X3, all of them are a rebrand with not even their own skin. None of the devices are game changer, which Poco F1 was. So I would request Poco to just maybe hold back a little. Rebrand devices, that's not the problem. Take time and separate yourself from MIUI. That's where the real Poco lies. The real Poco, which could have been what OnePlus was supposed to be, but sadly, it's what Redmi can't be. And of course, to end this, there's a lot of custom ROMs you can go ahead and in the future be able to install on Poco M3, but custom ROMs are always good to have as an option, not the default. And finally, should you buy it? Should you buy the Poco M3? Well, Xiaomi definitely knows one thing. They'll always price their product below the competition. So in terms of raw specs and performance, get it. It's a good looking phone, 6 GB of RAM, UFS 2.1 storage. It's good value for what it offers. Get it even over the Redmi 9 Power. Only the MIUI and the OTA updates are disappointing. And in case, if you want or if you don't like MIUI, then the Realme Narzo 30A or Motorola G9 Power also makes sense. Much cleaner and better. On that note, like the video if you have watched till here. This is Pradeep signing off. See you soon.